People consistently rate AI-generated explanations as highly satisfying, even when they fail to actually understand the underlying concepts. Calculators offloaded basic arithmetic, but they left the underlying logic of the problem intact. Artificial intelligence differs because it takes over the synthesis and judgment, the very steps where we used to do our own thinking. Psychologists now call this dynamic convenience binding. When a tool makes a complex task completely effortless, the brain simply stops exercising the cognitive muscles required to do that work independently. The immediate danger of this technology lies in how the hollow feeling of understanding stealthily substitutes for actual earned comprehension. We already have a biological baseline for this kind of cognitive offloading. Studies on GPS navigation show that relying on automated routing leads to significantly reduced hippocampal engagement compared to active, independent spatial mapping. This chart illustrates the Google effect. Human memory recall drops precipitously when we expect to look up information later. We see the exact same deterioration in students using AI. Without the synthesis tool, there's a measurable drop in their ability to construct independent arguments. This evidence contradicts the theory that AI simply frees up our cognitive capacity for higher-level tasks. Instead, it aggressively colonizes the exact load-bearing skills required for complex thought. The data suggests a shift from forgetting what we knew to never building those cognitive foundations at all. AI offloading spreads quietly and systemically, much like a process that seems locally successful while undermining the health of the larger organism. A common counterargument is that people already know they need to embrace productive struggle to build true understanding, but this ignores the junk food dynamic. Knowing something is bad for you is entirely useless when placed against a brutally steep convenience gradient. This matrix illustrates the precautionary principle. Weighing the risks of action against inaction, maintaining our baseline habit of thinking for ourselves carries absolutely zero risk. We must protect this urgently. Once cognitive habits of outsourcing are established, they resist reversal. Because the very thing at risk is our foundational ability to evaluate reality, we can never rely on individual willpower to fight a systemic structural threat. Human cognitive capacity functions as a shared public resource, and right now, that resource is being systematically polluted. The history of the plastics pollution crisis provides a precise analogy. Decades of voluntary industry self-regulation completely failed to stop widespread environmental damage. The massive corporate entities profiting from AI have zero financial incentive to protect human cognition. They have every incentive to externalize the harm back onto the user. It is absurd to ask a single student to individually resist a multi-billion-dollar AI system, just as it was absurd to try and solve global plastic pollution by asking consumers to recycle harder. The only effective response to a steep convenience gradient is top-down, institutional policy that overrides individual choice. This starts with enforcing strict age restrictions on AI in education, alongside mandated AI-free assessments so credentials retain human value. Next, we need consumer disclosure requirements, warning of dependency risks, and liability frameworks making tech companies legally responsible for cognitive harm. Building political will for this is difficult. Plastic pollution is entirely external and highly visible, while cognitive erosion is strictly internal. We face a terrifying asymmetry. You can easily photograph a damaged ecosystem, that you cannot photograph a lost generation that never learned to sustain an independent thought. We must force structural legislation now. If we wait, the generational window will close, and population-level cognitive atrophy will become permanent.